Welcome to the Painting Coach, and this is a very, very exciting video as it's time to go back in time to the old world. Now, I've wanted a Bretonnian army for as long as I've known about Warhammer Fantasy Battles, so I was thrilled that Games Workshop sent me this box set to review and create some content for you. So, without any further ado, let's dive in and unbox this absolute monster. Well, I can't wait. So, I've already told you how excited I am for the old world and the fact I will finally get some Bretonnians. Let's have a look inside. Now, in terms of the box, it's too big for my filming area, so you may have to bear with me while I bumble my way through this without destroying other things around my desk. So we are inside the box. Let's see what we've got. So we've got what looks like the build instructions there. Happy days. And straight away we're into nostalgia with some classic whippy sticks and some templates, which I guess you use for like breath attacks and artillery, etc., which is most excellent. Now what we'll do is I'll pull these out and talk through them, but we'll have a proper look at them in a bit more refined way. So we've got a little baggie with what looks like all the horses for the knights, and we've got another baggie has lots of Pegasi, not sure, wings, and maybe they actually go on the other bag. Maybe the Pegasus Knights are all in bags, I'm not sure. Then we've got all the plastic. So first off, we've got the new Duke on Royal Pegasus. So there's a sprue for that and a sprue here. Like I said, I'll go through them in proper detail. I am interested to know if that's going to be the same Pegasus that you get with the banner bearer. Luckily, I have that as well, so I'll be able to do a compare and contrast. So that's the new guy. And we've got the older models. Now, I know people are keen to know, do they stand up against new stuff? How do they look? How are they aged? How are the casts? How are the mold lines, things like that? I'll go through all of that, but we'll just take them out of the box to start with because there's a lot of them. When I say a lot, there's a lot. Loads. Well, look at those archers. I mean, one thing I will say, you look at the old kind of technology and the amount of space that you've got around here. But they look decent. We'll have a look, we'll build a few, we'll put them together as well. So that's all good. Let's take away the protective paper. It'd be nice if that was a bit of artwork, wouldn't it? That would have gone up on the wall. If that was like the front of the box on there, that would have been great. Now we have the Old World core rulebook. We've got some dice and bases there. And on the other side, I think we've got just some more bases. And we've got the, blinking out, there's a weight on this, nice and sealed. So that's the contents of the box. Let's go away and have a look at them in a bit more detail and a bit more of a close-up. First up, let's have a look at the Royal Pegasus, and I mean straight away there's so many more parts on this in comparison to the other Pegasus Knights, as well as the other models. I guess one thing to firstly say is in terms of the wingspan of this, I'm not sure. I think the wingspan of this is probably very similar to the wingspan of an entire Pegasus Knight. So I guess when we're thinking about old world, new world, now I will build some, so we'll be able to do a comparison by the end of the video. So I'm just wondering whether a Royal Pegasus is going to be much bigger than a normal Pegasus. In terms of the other sprue here, we've got some nice details. So there's some nice sculpted detail on the cloak there. Not sure you have got options. You've got a sword option and a lance option. And obviously you've got head options as well, depending on if you do a Duke or if you do a Baron. But the detailing on this is very nice, and I'll get this one put together because I really want to do a painting tutorial on this one. So we will definitely put this together. We'll put one of the other Pegasus Knights together as well, so we can see how they compare and contrast in size, just in case it's not too clear maybe on some of the photographs that we get from GW. So let's have a look at the Men-at-Arms sprues first. So you get 6 of these, and they come with their pole arms and with their shields. So I think it works out that you get 4 now, 6 fours for those of you among us are 24. I think you get some additional ones on the command sprue as well. So something tells me that you've got maybe 14, 15, 2 squads of 14, 15 men-at-arms. I'll have a look properly, but in terms of how they look on the sprue, of course, we've got that nice wide spacing from the old way of doing things. I mean, the gaps between the heads and things like that. The heads do seem a little bit oversized in comparison to some of the newer ones you can get. But like I said, we'll build a couple and we'll see what they look like. And like I said, one of the questions was about flash, and I can see straight away that actually the men-at-arms, let me just bend that, I don't know if you can see that there. There's a little bit of flash there, which is still a bit disappointing. But also, jumping out to me is the connection points. Like here, for example, like that's a horrible connection point. There's a lot of plastic in there. So that's not great, but nothing a little bit of careful snipping and sandpaper won't solve. So that's kind of the man-at-arms sprue. And then we've got 3 of these sprues in there, which I know this has got archery elements on it. So we've got a bow and things there, but this has got the musician parts, the banner parts and things like that on there as well. Your Grail Monk as well. So this creates another 4 figures, and this is your command for that particular unit. So you've got your men, and then you get your command. Again, in terms of how they look, flip it over a little bit. I mean, the quality's okay, and there are more mold lines than I anticipated there being. I briefly looked at the archers and thought, that's okay. And I read online that what they've done is they've not completely retooled the molds, but they've refined some of them. The ones that needed retooling have been retooled. So I'm not sure if this comes under that particular category. But certainly one of the other things that these are all new presses. It's all new plastic. It's not old stock that they've had lying around for however many years. They are all new. The molds have been cleaned up. Some of them have been retooled, but not all of them. So this one seems okay. Look at the monk's head just there. I'm not sure if that comes up nicely, but that for me is a proper fantasy battle type head, which is really interesting. So that's the men-at-arms. We'll do the archers next. So to correct myself, you have enough to make 2 units of 18 men-at-arms, and you have enough to make 24 peasant bowmen. So you get enough sprues, all like this, as well as 2 of those command sprues, which make the extra peasant archers. Now, these are the ones I very briefly looked at. Now, the mold lines on these, they are still there, but they're a lot better than the ones on the men-at-arms. And also, these connection points are a lot more sympathetic as well. Now, in terms of how the models look, I think they look okay. I think they look fine. Again, we'll build some. We'll build the movement trays as well, and we'll see what they look like. Because I'm doing this review so that we get, as honest opinion as possible. Yes, I'm really, really excited by the Bretonnian because I've literally wanted a Bretonnian army since forever. Play them on Warhammer The Old World as well. Absolutely love them. But, it's important that the model quality is good and it's not just a rehash. And so far, these are okay. And I'm looking at the Bretonnian peasant archers. I'm thinking things like contrast paint and some of the technical paints you can get, like what's the grime paints? Name escapes me. Will look really good on them, and just to make them quite looking dirty and sort of unwashed in comparison to the glorious knights and noblemen of Bretonnia. So something to think about. So so these are the archers. Again, we'll build them, we'll pop them together, we'll maybe do sprue 4, we'll have a little look how long it takes in terms of that mold line removal as well. So these look pretty cool. They are very short. Again, the heads are quite big in scale in comparison to what perhaps we're used to these days, but I think they're okay. And when you rank them all up as well, and again, that's the other thing we need to remember. We're not looking at single models per se, we're looking at ranks of models, and that's kind of important to remember. So these look decent. Let's have a look at the noble knights next. So we have enough bits to make 12 Knights of the Realm. And this is, the Knights of the Realm are the models I remember the most when it comes to Bretonnia, and seeing them on the table at my local Games Workshop when I was younger and when I used to play, and I absolutely loved the fact they had all different kinds of heraldry. Each knight had its own. Now, when they've reboxed it, they've done it a little bit different in terms of the box art. So each knight no longer has his own heraldry. Although I am told there are crusade rules in some of the supplement books you can buy, which kind of does rules for that. So I'll be interested to see them. I was thinking about it, I'm like, well, I've got 12, so maybe I'll do 6 based on the box art. And maybe I'll do 6 with their own heraldry, which might be really, really nice. So you get, see what we've got. So we've got the legs, heads. Now you can build these in Knights Errant as well. There's another sprue, it's these heads. It's the less audacious head pieces are the Knights Errant. So we've got some helmet-less heads. And again, same challenges with these. They are a little bigger than perhaps what we're used to with some of the stuff today. Again, mold lines are not fantastic on these, but they'll clean up easily enough. It's just a question of how long it's going to take and how long we'll spend cleaning mold lines versus painting. But generally, this is one of the, or it is the iconic unit of the Bretonnian army. So those are the kind of the riders. And then, like I said, we've got a little baggie. So it's not a little baggie, it's quite a big baggie with the horses. And I'm going to assume, although you should never assume, that they are, they're probably the two bits that go together. Now, these from a mold line point of view are okay. There's, you run your knife down that, but they're very, there's a little bit of mold slip there. Look at that. Which again, it's not going to be too bad. When you clean that up, it's not going to be too bad. But yes, we are going to need to do a little cleanup to get the Bretonnian army of my dreams. But yes, so all the horses are in there. So I'm assuming that you've got 12 pairs of bodies. Oh, there we are. The other thing, they are all numbered as well. So if you did chop them all off, you know that 2 and 2 go together, which is not something that Games Workshop does anymore. They always used to label them up like this. And if you see like other skill model kits, they always tend to tell you which bit goes with which bit. But GW don't tend to do that for some reason, which is a shame, but it is what it is. So that's those. And the last unit I think we need to look at are the Pegasus Knights. So we'll do them next. So for the Pegasus Knights, you get the wings. But look at these heads. These are the heads of the horses for the Knights of the Realm. They're not the Pegasus Knights heads, but you get the wings in the bag there. That looks okay. And then you get 3 of these sprues, which are your Pegasus Knights. So you can see they've got different heads to the Knights of the Realm. You've obviously got the body, the rather audacious headpieces on the helmets, their lance, and then the Pegasus body. So the first thing that jumps out to me about the Pegasus Knights is that these seem like they're going to be significantly smaller than the Royal Pegasus that the Duke is going to be riding. Now that's fine, you can come up with your reasons as to why they might be smaller. The question is going to be how smaller. We'll build them to find out how smaller. We'll build one, we'll build the Duke as well, just to kind of get an idea of what that scale difference is going to be. So those are the Pegasus Knights. Again, from a mold line point of view, they're not too bad. Probably what I'd have expected, to be honest. It was nice to get as little mold line as possible. I mean, these connection points are a bit chunky, but you know, when you think back to some of the new releases, if you think back to the Assault Intercessors with jump packs that just came out, they have got some big bad mold lines and some interesting, shall we say, connection points on some of them. But yeah, so these are just going to scrape down. I suppose the benefit of these, because they're not hyper detailed like some of the new models, is that that's a very quick mold line to clean up. You're not having to go in and out of lots of different things. And the awkward ones you do get, a little bit of Tamiya extra thin just to melt it flat will be fine. So yeah, so the Pegasus Knights. Let's have a look at what else is in the box. Now, it may perhaps have been a better idea to make a start with this booklet, because yes, it's the building instructions. So you've got all your kind of bits there. So you've got how to build your Bretonnian Knights. You see, very simple in terms of how they go together, very straightforward, and also shows you the Knight Errant. Pretty much the only difference, I think, is the head. Yeah, it's just the head is the only real difference. Then you've got the Pegasus Knights. Again, very simple to put together. We'll build it to see what the gap is like when we put the two parts together, if there is a gap. Because obviously they'll probably need to fill that with some putty, because there's no additional pieces of plastic to go over to cover it. So on a newer model where you've got mold lines or you've got seams, sometimes the design will be such that you just put an armor plate over it and that covers any gap. Peasant bowmen, very easy to put together, very simple. So you've got the additional command options there. Men-at-Arms, again, very easy. Again, if you need to stop to have a look at anything on here, you just pause the video. Not a massive fan in the jester's hat on the musician, but that being said, you can easily change it for something else. So that's fine. And obviously you can have it as a drummer or as a hornblower trumpeter. Defensive stakes there as well, so very important. And also put your brazier on there. So when you've got a brazier, you can fire flaming arrows. which according to Total War are less accurate. And then we've got the Bretonnian Lord on Royal Pegasus, which I feel is significantly bigger than the other Pegasus, but we will see. Now, the first thing that jumps out about me from this, obviously you can do it as a Duke or as a Baron, is how much more detailed this is in comparison to the older sculpts. It is very detailed, and there are much more parts. So, looking at how it all goes together, it's exactly as perhaps you'd anticipate one of the newer kits. And this is why I think it's significantly bigger than the other Pegasus Knights, because when you look at the wingspan on these, it just feels like it's much bigger. Might be wrong, but it's just a feeling I've got. So we'll work our way through and see how it looks like when they're built, and we'll put them side by side. And then we've got the different options on there as well. So this is something really cool. You can make out of this box the army of Duke Castile, the Red Hand. So it's all in there, how to build the army and how to give the points. It's 1,249 points. And you've got all the information. So you've got your Duke Castile of Brionne, you've got Bors du Fort's Knights, Roland de Grasse's Knights. Like I said, I might just take 6 and make them a mix of different knights with their own personal heraldry. We've got Pegasus Knights, bowmen. So you've got 18 men-at-arms, including a champion, Grail Monk, standard bearer, and musician. The 2 units of them, and then you've got the archers as well. And this has got all the information you need to play with this army. It hasn't got the rules on here, but you do get the rule book in the box, and it's got information about the lance formation as well, which is, again, one of the really cool Bretonnian formations you can get, and also how it works in combat. That's my lights are a little bit too bright, perhaps see that properly, so just move them out. Yeah, so that's it. So that's everything you get in the box. Apart from the Old World rulebook, which we'll have a very brief look at next. I'm not going to dwell on it. I don't know the rules, so I'm not going to pretend to be someone who does know the rules, but certainly there will be other creators out there who do faction focuses and rule focuses and battle reports and things like that. So we'll have a quick look at that. Then I'm going to build some models and we'll do a little bit of compare and contrast. I'll also get the movement trays out and also that standard bearer on Royal Pegasus as well. So here is the Old World book. Let me just move my light away so that we can actually see it. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this. I'm not going to go through all of the different bits and pieces in here, because as far as the rules go, I'm not a gamer. There's going to be plenty of people doing rules previews and game preview. But let's first off appreciate this fantastically lovely map. Lovely map of Bretonnia there, the Empire, the Wood Elf realms. Such a nice map. Everyone loves a good map, surely. Now, the interesting thing I did want to bring your attention to was to kind of give an idea, really, about the complexity, perhaps, of the game and why it might appeal to some people who really miss fantasy, and why some of us may find it difficult to get into is, if we look at the contents, then we've got lore and information up to page, well, not page 86, but maybe page 91. You can see that, and if you need to pause the video to look at anything I'm showing you, then feel free to do that, because I'll briefly show you some of the pictures in here. Like I said, I'm not going to go through the content, but there is a lot of rules, and this might be enticing to some people, it might put other people off, but there are lots of different things on here. So we've got all the rules, which cover from page 91 to page 268, perhaps. Then we've got information about terrain, how to get your armies together, different kind of battles, campaigns, narrative, realms of magic, lore of magic. There's a lot of information in this book. Flicking through, I'm certainly going to read the lore, because I'm really interested to hear about the Old World, particularly because it's set before where Fantasy Battles was set, which is, before where a lot of people may have kind of come into this with Total War Warhammer, the original game, which I love, by the way. So yeah, it's really interesting to kind of go through and have a look at this. Obviously, the artwork that's in here is absolutely fantastic. Look at that artwork. That's just beautiful. That's fantastic. Where's that model? I want that model. Perhaps it kind of reminds me of the old Empire Captain. It ought to be like a witch hunter, maybe. I'm not sure. But that could be, that's a great model. So yeah, here they are, the Bretonnians, noble steeds riding out. Spoiler alert, I will have a Bretonnian castle for my lord. I'm in the process of sorting that out, and as part of another video. So yeah, there are lots. There are hundreds and hundreds of pages. So much stuff that you're gonna need to go through and learn. So I'm a little bit overwhelmed by it, but you know, it's all good stuff. But and the last thing I want to do before we wrap up the video really is just very quickly go through some of the army shots that we've got here. And again, feel free to pause the video because I'm going to be going fairly quick. We've got the Empire of Man there, some of the really classic hits. Now, I do wonder with the Empire of Man, because it's the time of the four emperors, are they going to have four different empire armies? Obviously, these guys have got the blue and yellow, not the traditional white and red of Reichland. So that's interesting. And somebody who knows more about the lore than me can probably chime in below and show me the error of my ways. But certainly we've got all these very cool models. We've got the steam tank coming back, the war altar, things like that. Fantastic. We've then got the Kingdom of Bretonnia with some real classic minis going on here. A lot of these have been re-released. Obviously, the Duke there is a brand new model. The Banner Bearer is a brand new model. Looking forward to those Foot Knights as well when they eventually come out. Lance formation. Now, in that last formation, they haven't got the movement trays, but would be easier, I guess, for the game. We then got Wood Elf Rowls. Again, some of these Wood Elf models are recent-ish. So these guys, the Glade Guard, they're fairly recent. The Stags are fairly recent. But there's also the Tree Man, who is ancient, and some of these riders are ancient as well. These War Dancers, I know they're quite old. So there's lots of lovely, lovely models. You know, there's a lot of nostalgia feels coming into this as well. Let me just make sure I can zoom out slightly. And then my other weak spot is High Elves. I did actually find my Swordmasters of Hoeth the other day from the old, I think, was it the Battle of Blood Island? And also some Sea Guard. I've got a box of Dragon Princes. I've got some of these mages as well, which really looking forward to High Elves coming. Got this mage here. Again, another fantastic model. Dragon Princes, White Lions. Oh, I love it. Not so much for me, the Orcs and the Goblins, but again, I know they're absolutely classic sculpts and a lot of people are gonna be excited about. I'm really excited to see what new stuff they come up with for these. My assumption is perhaps they'll do a versus box for each of the factions, like they do in Bretonnia v Tombkins, for example. So seeing some of the old classic Orc War bosses on Wyvern, for example, a new version of that could be really special. And will go nicely against that Bretonnian Lord as well. So again, some interesting models with interesting colour schemes. And then we've got the Dwarves. Again, I do like the Dwarves. The only time I've actually completed Total War Warhammer was playing as the Dwarves. Just love their artillery. Fantastic. And some of them are just really rock hard. And again, a lot of these sculpts are still, the Games Workshop is still selling today. You can use them as Cities of Sigmar army, I think, for each Sigmar. So again, lovely, lovely dwarf goodness. And then we've got the Tomb Kings, which, you know, we've got the launch box for that whole new dragon, which is just spectacular. Necrosphinx, can't wait to see some of the paint jobs people do that, especially like with some of the more modern paints on that Necrosphinx. That's going to be spectacular. And then lastly, we've got the Warriors of Chaos. So again, looking forward to see if any new models are brought out for them, because again, there's the opportunity for some really, really spectacular sculpts. And then we've got a really fantastic classic battlefield, the old green flock mat, which stings the eyes and pangs the nostalgia. Really, really cool, some of those hills as well. I'd really love to see if they do bring out some of the old buildings. So that's kind of the rule book. That's all I wanted to have a look at on there, because I'm not going to go over the rules. We will be here all day because there are so many pages. Let's get and have a look at those models. So I've had a chance to build some models. Let's have a look at them, and let's do a little bit of a compare and contrast as well. So first up, we've got the Royal Pegasus, which comes with our Duke as one of the options. So he kind of sits there quite nicely, and obviously this is a brand new kit. There's lots of lovely detail on it, and it can be a little bit of a complex build, like this bit here, getting everything to match up, because I wanted to leave him separate, because it would be quite difficult to paint him and the Pegasus together. So I've got a few spare bits there that I'm going to have to glue back on after and kind of rethink about how I'm going to attach it. So that's there. But I think what's really useful to do is to show, I just zoom out to touch, is to show the classic Pegasus Knight here. Now the Knight's not glued on, so he may fall off. But so you've got an idea of the scale of the two of them. So let's just go a little bit more. Just make sure we can fit them all in. So as you can see, the scale's a little bit different. The wingspan on the Royal Pegasus is significantly more than on the Pegasus Knights, so that's something to think about. The head on this Pegasus Knight is a bit bigger than the head on the Royal Pegasus, so you're bound to get some of these scale challenges with models that are, you know, a good few years old versus something that's brand new. But I guess that is easily explained away by saying, like, this is a Royal Pegasus and this is just a normal Pegasus. So those are those two. They went, I mean, this one took me quite a while to build. I did have to be quite conscious of some of the instructions, make sure bits are in the right place. You can see I had to take a little bit off there, which is, this very small strap, to get it all to match up and fit where it's supposed to go. That's going to be a post-painting exercise for me there to make sure it all matches. The other things I have built are the archers. So the archers were very, very quick to do. Very quick. The mould lines, yes, there's mould lines on them, but they're fairly minimal. You can clean them up really quite quickly. So I've just built 4 of them, and they took me very little time to get done. They're nice and characterful, these peasant bowmen. And I think the only kind of challenge really is just the sculpture of some of the heads is not, you know, it's not fantastically modern, but you know, it's okay, it's fine. It's not a huge problem. The heads are slightly too big for the bodies, but again, it just adds to the character and also the history of it all. These went together really nice and really easily, so they'll need a little brush off before I prime them, because just a little bit of plastic stuck on, which, you know, that's absolutely fine. So those are the peasant bowmen. And the last ones I built for this were the men-at-arms, and rather taking my time here with showing these. So I glued the shields on. I didn't realise how much of them are actually covered by the shields, which from a personal protection point of view is pretty good. The thing I found with these, which was quite interesting, is that the thing seems to take forever to dry on them, which is fine. You know, it's something I've learned whilst building them, so I'll know now for the rest of them. And overall, you know, they built fairly quickly as well. In terms of the models in this set, they're pretty cool. They are nostalgic. Would it have been nicer to get brand new men-at-arms and brand new peasant bowmen? Of course it would have been. But they probably wouldn't have gone together as quickly as these have gone together. And they'll probably end up with a bit more detail. Whereas these ones, I think there's plenty of detail on there. So if I was to crack out the contrast paints, these would be pretty quick to paint. And then the product I was trying to think of earlier, streak and grind, was always trying to think of a bit of streak and grind with them just to dirty them up. Actually, that would be a really nice, quick and easy, effective way of painting them. So those are the models for the box that I've painted. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you've got. Let's have a quick look at the movement trays and the Royal Pegasus that's got a standard bearer on it. This is the sprue for the Pegasus, for the standard bearer. Now, what I thought and what is reality is the same thing. This is the same Pegasus sprue as this one, which is the Royal Pegasus with the Duke on. So the Pegasus is exactly the same. The difference is this sprue here. So this is the unique sprue, which has got the banner bearer on there and also some of the iconography bits and pieces as well. This builds the unique banner bearer. Obviously, there's a nice big flag. Really looking forward to seeing what kind of freehand certain people might do with that. I'll probably end up just doing the standard with the decals. But yeah, so there's this unique sprue, which is an interesting concept, I suppose. So any other model that has a Royal Pegasus, they'll just be able to produce the rider sprue separately, and just have the same Royal Pegasus, which is cool. Again, this is a new sprue, new design. You can see everything is quite well packed onto the sprue. There's very little real estate left over when you compare it to some of the older sprues. Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to building this model. So here are the movement trays. So you get 2 pieces of plastic like this, and a 10 by 10. So you obviously just pick out how many you want. So if that's going to be a rank of 20, score along the line, and then it should snap off quite easily. Somebody asked me, are there enough pieces of movement tray for all the models you have in the starter box? Now, at a glance, I'm going to say yes. Without building it, I don't know for sure. So you get these 2 bits here. Now, I have seen online, some people have had these and they're warped. So obviously, make sure if you go to a Games Workshop, open them in store. If you get them online, obviously get in touch with customer service if you have any problems. You could try warming them with a hairdryer and flattening them with a heavy weight on top. That might work as well. You shouldn't have to do that because the production should be great, but just in case you have any issues. So you get 2 of these 10 by 10 squares. You then get these. Now, these have got 8 corner pieces. So you can imagine for each movement tray, you'd need 4 of them. And you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 straight pieces. And with these straight pieces, you're going to have to cut them a little bit to get them to match up. I would say you've got enough on here to do the men-at-arms, to do the bowmen, no problem. You could probably potentially get them done just with this sprue here, which then leaves this sprue. Now, the only models I'm slightly reticent to answer yes to, as in, have we got enough to cover all the models, is to do the lance formations with the knights. So that might be a challenge because obviously you have lots of corners, lots of angles. And now I'm looking at it, I'm not even sure it's going to be particularly easy to do the front of the lance as well, because the front of the lance is just a cavalry base. So if I transpose a cavalry base here, you're basically going to have that, and then you're going to have to cut off that there. So I think making the lance, or making a tray for a lance, is potentially going to be quite difficult out of these pieces here. I mean, that's assuming you do need a tray for the lance. And the only reason I'm saying about it is I'm sure on the Warhammer TV video that they did, they've got a tray for the lance. So I think making a movement tray for a lance formation is going to be a little more challenging. So you might not have enough in just one box of this for that. And as I'm looking at it now and looking at how wide this cavalry base is, if I bring back the plate, you can see that it's actually wider than what's on here. In fact, now I'm looking at it, if I take the archer, I guess that's bigger as well. So this is obviously the old mould for the movement trays, which had the smaller bases. Now I haven't got 10 of these worth, but if I line these guys up on here, then take my men-at-arms as well. Oops. Of course, this is an illegal formation in the game. I'm just about going to get a front of 8 wide. Now that's going to be fairly tight on there. If I push them together, they're just going to fit there. So I'm only actually going to get 8 models on one of these movement trays, which is interesting because when I was looking at them, I just assumed you get 10 across them. So that makes things different when we come to answer the question, are there enough? Now, looking at the men-at-arms, there's 2 ranks of 9 models to give you 18 total. So now to do that, that means that we're missing a little bit here that we're going to need. So that means we're going to end up cutting off cuts, and we're going to be cutting bits out of here that are in the middle of some of these squares. So that's going to be quite challenging. That could be quite difficult. If you've got a razor saw, and got a scalpel, you'll need a steel ruler to do that as well. Just something to consider. I'd not actually noticed until I've put them on there. Because obviously they've changed the bases, but they've not changed the template for the movement trays. So that's potentially an oversight, because these should be, in my mind, they should be these squares as wide as the bases. You can see there, these are 20mm squares. I think they're 20mm squares, and they're now 25mm bases. So, or they're 50mm squares, not 20mm, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to ruler on me to check, but they're too big. So that's going to be interesting, and that's going to be a challenge, I think, when it comes to these movement trays. So just be conscious of that. If you're happy with ranks of 8, then that's fine. But if you think if you're a peasant bowman and you've got 24 of them, I think that's fine. So you can have 3 ranks of 8. But if you're looking at your men-at-arms, you've got 9 on there. That's going to be quite difficult to build a movement tray for. So yeah, that's interesting. So the cavalry base is wider again. So that's again. That's going to be difficult to create out of this movement tray because you're not going to be cutting down the pre-scored areas. You're going to be cutting down the middle, which again is going to be challenging to do. So there we are. So those are the movement trays. Shock. They're not quite the way I thought they were going to be. So yeah, so that will need to be looked at. And from a modelling point of view, it might be difficult. So if you've got any ideas on that, or if you've got any other alternatives to movement trays, then again, let us know in the comments. Share that with everyone so we can all find out. We can all go on this old world journey together. So there we have it. That is my unboxing of the Bretonnian army for the old world. I really hope you enjoyed it and hope it was useful, give you some information. I've certainly discovered some tidbits that I wasn't 100% sure on, so I can take those away and really think about them. If you've got any questions or comments, please do put them down below. I'll make sure to read them and respond to them if you've got questions. And of course, I will do my absolute best to answer them. And if I don't know, I might know somebody who does, so we can see about getting some more information out there. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you check out the other content on my channel. I'll see you next time.